Assalamualaikum and a very good day. First of all, I would like to introduce the group member. First is Shahril Hafizi Ryan. Next is Muhammad Dain. Myself, Muhammad Ahmed Zuddin. And lastly, Muhammad Zikri. So, the literary figure and most significant work of his that we chose for this assignment is Roald Dahl with his short story Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. First of all, I would like to introduce a little bit about this famous author. His name, as we know, is Roald Dahl. He was born on the 30th of September 1960 and had passed away on 23rd of November 1990. He was born in Wales to a Norwegian immigrant parents. In the past, he had become successful in a lot of things, such as becoming one of the most famous British novelists, a short story writer, poet, screenwriter, and also he was once a wartime fighter pilot. He served in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. He became a fighter pilot and subsequently an intelligence officer, rising to the rank of acting wing commander. The work era for Roald Dahl was as clear as day when he rose to prominence as a writer in the 1940s, with work for children and also for adults, and he became one of the world's best-selling authors of his time. At that time, he has also been referred to as one of the greatest storytellers for children of the 20th century, where a lot of his work were liked by the public.
Okay, I will continue with the literary focus. So for Dahl's short story are known for their unexpected ending, and his children books for their unsentimental, macabre, and often darkly comic book featuring villainous adult enemies of the child character. So he's very creative, using unique adjective in his descriptive writing. Dahl use figure of speech in his writing and also specific name which complement the different character in his or her personality or features. He used certain character to teach a lesson about how other children are not being respectful and obedient. He put a twist on his word and arranged the sentence structure to a point of wackiness at time. So for the most significant work, which is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is published on June 1964. It's a children fiction chapter book mixed with some fantasy in it. So I recommend this book to people that like fiction and fantasy because this has a very inspirational thing, as Roald Dahl left a lasting impression on the world by writing book that inspire kids to read. So for the tone, it was light-hearted and humorous even in the treatment of difficult topic. Ronaldo used a lot of sound work, interesting adjective and humorous poem make his book interesting and enjoyable experience. With a lot of sound words, interesting adjective and humorous poem make his book an interesting and enjoyable, with some sadistic at times are mostly found children book. This adds a touch of wackiness to his story.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Zikri bin Muhammad Zainal, and first I am going to talk about the setting of this novel, which is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. Okay, there are two primary settings that I found in this novel. That is Charlie Bucket's house, and the other one is Chocolate Factory that is owned by Willy Wonka. First is Charlie Bucket's house, that is described as a small wooden house at the edge of a great town. At the beginning of the story takes place mostly in Charlie Bucket's house. Based on the novel, it described that the house is quite small for 7 people to live in it, and there are only 2 rooms and 1 bed, and all of his 4 grandparents share the bed. And next is the Chocolate Factory, which is the primary setting of this story. This factory is protected with large iron gates and wall. According to the novel, Charlie's family claims that the chocolate factory that is owned by Willy Wonka is 50 times as big as the other chocolate factory. There are a few rooms inside the chocolate factory, that is the chocolate room, the inventing room, and the television room. It is said that in the chocolate room, everything is edible, and the main icon of the room is the chocolate river that is mixed and churned by the waterfall. Next is the character of this novel. Okay, the main protagonist in this novel is Charlie Bucket. He is a kind boy and respectful to everyone in his life. Charlie's physical appearance is quite small and undernourished, but still he refused to take extra portion of food because it will deprive his other family member since they are poor. However, Charlie never complained about it. His kind and humble behavior is the reason why Mr. Wonka chose him to take over his factory. Okay, and the next character is Willy Wonka, which is the eccentric owner of the Wonka Chocolate Factory. He is the most renowned candy maker in the world. Even though he is a strange guy, he also has a good side. He saves and brings the malnourished Oompa Loompas back to his factory where they can eat their favorite food, which is cacao, and he treats the Oompa Loompas like children. And Mr. Wonka is trying to find a child that could take over his factory, and Charlie is the boy that he is looking for. And next, Grandpa Joey, which is Charlie's paternal grandfather. He is the oldest and the wisest character in the novel. Grandpa Joey was imaginative and fun-loving. He is the perfect person to escort Charlie to the chocolate factory, since Grandpa Joey is Charlie's best friend. Grandpa Joey is the one who tells Charlie about the history of Mr. Wonka and his vaunted chocolate factory. And the other character in the story is Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregarde, Mike TV, and the Oompa Loompas.
Moving on to the next slide, which is the theme for this novel. So there are three themes. The first one is good things come in small packages. The second one is poverty versus wealth. And the last one is what goes around come around. So for the first theme, which is good things come in small packages, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a novel in which things are either good or bad, and one way Dahl attributed goodness to something is to make it small. So small things can easily be underestimated by those who do not take the time to notice them. Charlie and Mr. Wonka and Chocolate Bar all have the potential to carry much more weight than one might assume. Charlie's pitiful appearance belies his inner strength and ability to outlast the other children and eventually take control of the entire chocolate factory. And for the second theme, which is poverty versus wealth, the classic distinction between those who have money and those who do not perfect Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Furthermore, it helped form the background for the morality of the story, which is money is dangerous, especially when it is used unscrupulously. And the last theme is what goes around come around. After it has been established which characters are good and which are bad, each of the characters is punished or rewarded in accordance with his personality. In all of these cases, the children undergo painful punishment because they have a bad personality that ultimately make them a better person. As the good child, which is Charlie, he only receives rewards for his good behavior. And the next slide is about symbols. So there are three symbols in this novel, which is Chocolate Factory, Golden Ticket, and the glass elevator. So for the first one, which is Chocolate Factory, the Chocolate Factory is the physical embodiment of the difference between poverty and wealth. And the second one is Golden Ticket. The Golden Ticket is a physical manifestation of the difference between poverty and wealth. Finding the Golden Ticket allowed Charlie to live his dream. And for the last symbol is the glass elevator. For Charlie, the great glass elevator represents his future. The elevator allowed Charlie to see the world laid out before him. But before Charlie can reach that point of clarity, he must trust the elevator and remain willing to ride on through all of the turbulence and frightening time when using the glass elevator. And the last slide is about the motive of this novel. So there are also three motifs, which is vice, punishment, and absurdity. So for the first one, which is vice, in the moral world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, there is no ambiguity. Children are either bad or good. Charlie is good precisely because he has no discernible vices. The bad children are easy to spot because they are the embodiment of their vices. And then the second one is punishment. Punishment is used to underscore the moral code in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Good children are dutiful and respectful, whereas bad children are the opposite. It is not a bad child fault that he is bad. His parents are largely to blame because the parents are supposed to teach their kid to be nice. And the last one is absurdity. Dahl regularly employ absurd language and idea. Some of these absurdity are hair growing candy for children, square candies that look round, and edible pillows. All of these demand of suspension of disbelief from the reader. And that is all. Thank you.